Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Game On, answering viewers' questions. This is the gift that keeps on giving because we've gotten a bunch of good questions from folks. You were saying these are from the Danbury...
The Greater Danbury, tabletop gaming group.
Thank you guys, you've been a goldmine. And we've got another one. So, who says what?
Yeah, this is from Alex. He says...
Thank you, Alex.
He asks, why it, quote, "it's what my character would do," is such a lamented phrase, but isn't always necessarily a bad thing.
It's ominous. It's fraught with potential for controversy, but it doesn't have to be, like the question frames. It's important to stay true to your character, guys. You made a character for a reason, but you don't want that to come at the expense of enjoyment for yourself and, very importantly, the enjoyment for other players.
Yes. And you know where that starts? Building your character.
Character concepts. Yes.
If you're playing like Pathfinder and you're going to the plane of positivity, don't build yourself an evil character. and if everybody else is good.
Maybe don't build in any gaming system on any plane. Don't build yourself a unilaterally evil character. The game allows for it. There's nothing inherently...
No.
Well, no, there is something inherently evil about it. But, look, I get it. Sometimes people want to explore themes and character types, and that leads them down a dark path. But you want to have some redeeming quality, if not overt redemption, available to you.
Well, how about if the whole party is evil and you're the one good one?
Oh yeah, you're the do-gooder who's going to create the conflict there.
You're the white knight.
But from my perspective, you want to have a multifaceted character. You want to have a character with growth opportunity. This is something we talked about in a previous video.
Yeah.
But you want to have a character concept that is compatible with the game that you're in.
Yes.
And so this is important that you don't just try and railroad through a character concept that isn't going to work with the story that the GM has put together for you, because they've gone to presumably a lot of work to create an enjoyable, fun adventure for you guys. And if your character is the wrench in the works, it's just going to create unnecessarily conflict and frustration and not fun.
And this is why I think having a session 0 is so important, is because you don't want to build a white room theorycraft character, someone who's built all alone. You want to build characters together so that you know that you're not building something that's completely not, mesh with the other group members.
Some guidance from the GM about what they're looking for, the types of things. I mean, they're going to give you some latitude, but it's not a challenge to see what you can get away with in character creation. And you are going to be working as a team to some degree or greater or lesser extent. So you want that character to be compatible. You want to be collaborative. Whether you're creating it during a session 0 where you guys are coming up with character concepts together, or you're creating it on your own, but with an eye towards being part of a team.
Okay. So as the players get together or they make their characters, the GM makes sure that the characters are going to mesh well. Yeah. Is there any other things that we can do as a GM that would help?
Yeah, and this is a little bit funny because you would think that this topic, this question that's being asked, is driven or directed mostly at players, right? Mm-hmm. It's what my character would do. Yeah, but and that's absolutely true. There's responsibility for you guys to be true to your character, but also be productive and cooperative as a player. But a lot of it comes back on the GM, at least in part, in my opinion. And people may have differing opinions about this, but you know, with character creation, the GM should be comfortable about setting some boundaries.
Yeah.
You know, telling people what character concepts are going to work and not going to work to minimize all that stuff that we were just talking about.
Yep.
You don't want dead-end players. You don't want doomed players that will invariably take other players down, player characters down with them as they, you know, as they fail or as they meet their difficult end. So yeah, you don't want kamikaze players. It's just not. It's a cool idea maybe, but it's not going to work in a long-term campaign.
No.
So you have to resist that temptation, and if the players have that temptation, try and push it through, you have to pump the brakes and say, no, we're just not going to do that. I'm sorry, but you gotta have some redeeming features in your character. But the flip side of that is, for me, GMs, what we're talking about here is character conflict. Some of that is okay. A limited amount of that can be fun and invigorating and interesting.
It can actually help your character grow a little bit.
Absolutely.
Go check out our video that we did on that, right up above Matt's head.
Yes, but there's a limit to how productive character conflict can be. It can very quickly turn bad.
Yeah.
So you want to, as a GM, you don't want to set traps for your players that are going to create so much inter-party conflict that it derails whatever else you have planned after that, right? Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Just like you don't want players to create characters that are dead ends, you don't want to create a dead end in your plot that sucks everybody in, creates conflict that messes everything up, right?
Oops.
If you throw your players into a gladiator pit and say, you know, 2 men enter, 1 man leaves, you're going to get that. That's the obvious will result from that sort of scenario. So narratively, either literally or figuratively, you don't want to pit 2 players against each other in a battle to the death, because that's what you're going to get. And if you want to avoid those in your game creation, storyline creation process, but if one inadvertently crops up, because that happens, right?
Yeah.
The interaction of players and GM storylines can sometimes create these cul-de-sacs that turn into dead ends. If you recognize that starting to happen, create an out.
Yep.
Give your players an out and make sure they recognize what that is, even if you have to telegraph it a little bit, even if you have to hit them over the head till they get a clue. Because you don't want to go too far down that dark road where they have too much pride and too much effort invested into combating with one another to the point where there's no easy way out of that situation.
Yeah, and I want to make 2 things pretty darn clear here. Okay, I know that the term metagame is the boogeyman in RPGs, but you know, it's one of those unwritten rules. Well, guess what? D&D Adventurers League actually wrote a damn rule that says you are to collectively work together and not on purpose drag each other down.
Yeah.
Don't have fun at somebody else's expense. Yeah. You don't do that in real life. If you do, you're a dick.
You get punched in the mouth in real life.
Yeah,
so,
and if you do that in game, you're a dick.
Right. And sometimes people are like,
pardon my language,
if we're gaming, I don't care if I get punched in the mouth because it's just on paper. Well, yeah, I get it. And that's why people get brave about doing horrible things in a game, because they're living vicariously through a character. Yeah. But yeah, metagaming, look, it's a game for guys. It's a game. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be fun for everybody. Stop ruining other people's fun. If your fun requires you to ruin somebody else's fun, you're doing it wrong. Yes. You're a bad gamer. If you have to ruin somebody else's fun in order to have fun, you learned this thing wrong and you need to fix it.
Yeah.
Now people will help. Like the GM will help. Other players can help. And I'm not singling anybody out, and I'm not saying avoid player conflict at all or PC conflict at all costs. I'm not saying that, but you have to temper that with the other priorities in a game. And you know, like I said, I feel some of that falls on the GM too, for the reasons that I've explained before, and also, you know, keeping a balance at the table. Don't play favorites among player characters. This is a big one that I've noticed, is if you have a GM that tilts the table towards certain players or certain characters, the people who feel like they're getting neglected in that scenario will start to get resentful, and they'll start to get sort of bitter about the fact that they're dissatisfied that they're getting the short end of the stick. That is one of the primary causes of corrosive and catastrophic inter-party conflict. Because if somebody feels like the deck is stacked against them, they got nothing to lose. So why not just derail the whole thing, right? From their perspective, it can't get any worse than this, so I might as well just blow up the whole table. You don't want to put a player in a position where they start to think that way. I'm not justifying it. Like, players never should feel that way. But you don't want to set the stage that makes it more likely either. So, you know, try and keep it even. Try and give everybody equal opportunities to do things and constructively. And, you know, try and get things back on track before they get too far gone, you know. But players need to give each other latitude too, and understand that, you know, yeah, if that's what your character would do, as long as it's not going to blow up the whole table, give somebody the latitude to do it, even if it isn't what you would choose to do.
Yeah.
Right?
And this is it's the same thing, but they're very different. Pickpocketing the shopkeep because that's what my player would do, or my character would do, and pickpocketing your freaking party member because it's what my character would do. They're sound very similar. One is okay and one is not okay. And
yeah, or one is very forgivable, one is potentially not very forgivable, right? Like, I'm not saying never say never with anything, right? But yeah, you need to really don't do anything like that lightly.
Yes. And I want to make this last point really clear. Game masters. First of all, it's not really fair to call somebody out in front of the whole table. If you have a problem player like this, talk to them outside of the game saying, hey, this seems to be a situation that keeps happening, or has happened.
This is going bad, can we fix it?
Now, if it keeps happening, do not be afraid to Spartan kick them out of your table, because I've only kicked one player ever from my table, and it was because of this.
Yeah. Yeah, look, because, I mean, your job as a GM, part of your job, you have many jobs, but one of them is to be the shepherd of fun at your table, right? You're creating this thing with your players. You've helped create a story, and you're running this story, because, you know, when it comes right down to it, everybody's looking to have a good time and have fun. If one person's actions are interfering with people having fun, and that is, you know, habitually happening, don't kick anybody out on the first offense. But if they have a pattern behavior where they're routinely dragging the party unity and the party enjoyment down, making your life difficult so that you're not having fun, absolutely get them out of the scenario, or at least, you know, try and fix it. You know, talk to them, say, hey, look, we need to revise what's going on here. If they don't change their ways, then you need to start thinking about taking more drastic steps, including ejecting somebody from the game. And it's an unpleasant thing nobody wants to think about. You hope it never comes to that. Sooner or later, you're like Justin's experience, it'll happen, and you have to take decisive action to preserve the fun of the rest of the party.
Yes.
And,
so I really, at the end of all of this, is that, you know, think as a player before you act as a character. It's a game.
Yeah.
Not a torture session for other people. So what do you guys think? Do you guys have any other ways that you guys deal with, it's what my character would do?
Right, and do you justify, what level of actions do you feel is appropriate to justify with that, right? Like,
yeah.
Because it can be true that that's what your character would do, but it's not what you as a player should do, even if both of those things can be true at the same time.
Yes. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.
Absolutely, and thank you for the question. And keep them coming because we're happy to answer more. And they've created some very interesting discussions and videos. Hopefully, videos you think it's interesting.
Yeah.
But Justin and I have had fun answering them. So keep them coming.
Yeah. Thank you guys very much for watching.
And
game on.